This is why you're hard stuck in silver and how not to be. Brought to you by someone who couldn't accidentally be in silver unless they were playing on a trackpad with 2 hours of sleep. Let's quickly dispel a common misconception about being hard stuck. Ranks do not reflect your immediate skill. The Elo system tries to find a point where you trade wins and losses evenly. A bunch of players try to solve being hard stuck by learning 3 lineups or something. That's not a bad idea, but it's almost definitely not going to solve your problem. There are 3 main areas of Valorant skill: mechanics, decision making, and strategy. Improving these big 3 makes dramatic changes which enable you to not be hard stuck anymore. The most likely reason that you are hard stuck is you've become as good as you possibly can with the techniques that you are using in one or more of the big 3 categories. For example, maybe you're super good at crouch spraying. At a certain point, opponents who have kind of decent counter strafing and tracing will start destroying your amazing crouch spraying. Maxed out skills have a limit for how high they can carry you on the ladder. This means you have 3 choices. Number 1, you could stay being really good at the same skills you've maxed out and basically stay in the same rank forever. Number 2, you could learn new skills. Your gameplay will be worse temporarily as you learn the better skill, but eventually you will emerge as a better player than you were and with room to grow. And choice number 3 is quitting. Take your pick. I'm going to assume you intend to take the second choice. Back to the big 3 categories: mechanics, decision making, and strategy. Right off the bat, strategy is barely relevant in silver. Fundamentals are nice so that you don't lose 13 rounds the exact same way, but we'll go over that last. That leaves us with mechanics and decision making. Common low cap mechanics in silver include always running and gunning, shooting first and then aiming second, always spraying no matter what, crouch spraying, walk peeking, not knowing how to counter strafe, which even if you don't believe it makes you become accurate more quickly, you should learn anyways so that you know when you are accurate. Common higher cap mechanics that are generally necessary to move past silver include aiming before shooting, aka putting the crosshair on the opponent's dome so that left clicking is a foregone conclusion, standing still or counter strafing in order to be accurate. That's it. Way too often when I tell people these things, they tell me they already do them and then proceed to immediately try to panic spray and run and gun at 35 meters. It's important to check to see if you are actually doing these things, especially in competitive games where pressure can often alter your mechanics a little. Not admitting to yourself when you aren't using good techniques only hurts you. There is zero shame in not being perfect at the game. Give yourself permission to not be perfect. Okay, now for decision making. I have heard so many silvers tell me they deserve plat and then rush in a 1v1 on defense with 6 seconds left and lose a round. Most of you are losing out in the decision making department. Once again, it's okay to not be perfect. Bronze does an awful job of training you for good decision making since, like strategy in silver, it's basically optional. What I usually see is players who have exactly one style in silver that they use no matter who they are against or what situation they are playing in. Like a Raze who always pushes up B and looks for the first aim duel, regardless of whether that's worked or failed for the past 6 rounds in a row. Standard decision making in silver is, I wouldn't say brainless, just thoughtless. That's an important distinction because players have the capability to make smart decisions, but are commonly on autopilot and don't make or consider decisions to begin with. By the way, it's possible to get to gold without changing that if your mechanics are good enough. It's just significantly harder. One mistake is sacrificing round-winning objectives in order to try to get another frag. This is what I mean when I talk about players getting in their own way, because they will actively choose to do something that is worse than doing nothing. It's a bit hard to watch when teammates suddenly decide to rush screens with 20 seconds left on the post plant, or even worse, players who push to fight a 1v1 with 3 seconds left on defense. If your only goal is frags, then that's fine, keep rushing. But if you don't want to lose a bunch of games for no reason, consider not doing that. In fact, taking fights in general is a huge problem in silver. I keep seeing players who make the smart decision of saving, sacrificing a round to set up the next one. Then they disappoint me by peeking some random angle with 3 seconds left in the post-round phase and getting domed. You don't have to take every fight. I know you already know that, but it can be beneficial to start considering that as an option while in matches if you don't already. It is important to stop taking high-risk, low-reward fights that mostly just result in unnecessarily being eliminated or losing the round. More common lower cap decision-making skills in Silver include constantly pushing and losing a positional advantage as a result, hunting opponents at the cost of defending important post-plant territory, forcing unnecessarily or alone, peeking into ops, re-peeking into ops when you know an op is there, pulling utility out in the open, pulling out your knife, and running into dangerous territory. Common higher cap decision-making skills in Silver include choosing agents that give your team options, aka not auto-locking duelists. Sometimes a half-decent omen is better than a fourth duelist. Deciding quickly, but deliberately, whether you want to take a certain fight. If you have little to gain and a lot to lose, you might want to not take it. You don't have to take every fight. Start to anticipate your opponent's positions using game sense. It becomes natural over time, but a lot of people have to start by doing it consciously. Stay alert and aware, even if you don't necessarily have reason to expect an opponent in the specific position in front of you. Using forgiving weapons to compensate for not being super accurate and to capitalize on opponents who miss a lot. I want to expand on this last point. Players take sheriffs over ghosts or save for ops instead of forcing specters with a team. I understand that the high-risk, high-reward weapons are often theoretically better. However, that is before considering that opponents in Silver miss a lot. On top of that, you probably miss quite a bit as well. Using forgiving weapons like ghosts, Ares, and specters can get two birds with one stone by exploiting the opponent's inaccuracy weakness while minimizing the impact of your own. Moving on to the last and least section of the video, strategy. Common lower cap strategic skills in Silver include constantly 5-player rushing, lurking way too late to do anything, half committing in general, continuing to use a failing strategy against the same tactics over and over, and losing 13 rounds the same way. Common higher cap strategic skills include taking broad map control early with strategies such as defaults, and variation in positioning, attack destinations, etc. Strategy in Silver is pretty simple. On attack, the main issue I see is an early lack of map control that severely limits the options attackers have and forces them to commit to difficult attacks. Holding map control early counters pushes by the defense and gives you a lot of different paths that end with taking a site. On defense, it's surprisingly common for defensive teams to hold for like 3 seconds and then hearing nothing just leave their site. I saw a VOD recently where the defense would touch a site and then leave immediately, so the whole team was ping-ponging through spawn between A and B for a majority of the round. This meant sites were being defended like 10% of the time. The attackers would make weak all-in slow pushes and walk onto site uncontested most rounds. It's fine to slant towards contact, but consider leaving an anchor and stop rotating in response to nothing, unless you're predicting a pattern off of it. I see a lot of players who are very mechanically talented or are clearly very smart, but who are held back by the low skill ceilings of the techniques, approaches, and strategies that they use. By using techniques with higher skill ceilings, talented players can stop limiting themselves and give themselves the freedom for upward mobility towards their desired rank. I hope you found some value in this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Best of luck and have a great day.